If you are an American, in this video, I'm going to show you how to take your taxes, your entire tax burden, and reduce it to zero and do it 100% legally. I am Caleb Jones. This is Sovereign CEO. I teach people just like you how to set up location-independent businesses or move to a less bad country or at least set up an international backup plan and do all these things for very little money. As I have said many times before, America, the land of the free, the collapsing USA, has the worst tax laws in the entire world. America is the only country in the entire world, other than Eritrea that no one cares about, where if you move out of America and never go back there, they still tax you. You still have to file a tax return with the IRS, or they will revoke your passport and perhaps even arrest you if you ever come back to America. Very, very bad. No other country in the entire planet, other than Eritrea that nobody cares about, does this. It is draconian and evil. Now, because of this, there are some people who seem to think, Americans in particular, because we're talking about Americans here, that there is no way to reduce your taxes if you move out of the United States. When I first started talking about moving out of the United States to reduce my tax burden, matter of fact, I still get comments like this occasionally. I will get guys who say, but wait a minute, that's not possible. You still have to file your taxes, Caleb. Even though you don't live in the United States, you still have to pay taxes. So there's no way to save taxes by moving out of the United States. You still have to pay taxes because America runs the world, the IRS, and this and that. Wrong. Incorrect. The people who say that are wrong. Yes, you still have to pay some taxes in certain scenarios, and yes, you still have to file some paperwork. But there are several legal ways in which you can move out of the United States and bring your tax burden to as low as 0%. 100% legally following all the laws. As usual, I do not teach anything illegal. Everything is 100% above board and legal. Everything I teach has been reviewed by multiple attorneys, sometimes attorneys in multiple countries. This is all legal. This is not tax avoidance. This is tax strategy. So right now, I'm about to describe to you how you as an American can reduce your taxes, perhaps even to zero, by making a few changes, particularly if you move out of the country or spend a lot of time outside the country. Before I get to those, if you like this kind of content, you should subscribe to this YouTube channel. You should click the dumb notification bell and put a like on this video and leave a comment on this video. It doesn't matter what you say. The more algorithm-friendly activity I get on these videos, the more of these videos I will produce for you for free. The way in which you can save money on taxes as an American, and some of you are aware of this, but a lot of you have no idea this exists, is something called the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion, FEIE. And basically what this means is that the first $112,000 you make in any given calendar year is tax-free. No taxes, pretty much. If you make more than that, then you pay taxes on the income above $112,000. But it gets even better than that. There are certain housing allowances that allow you to go a little above $112,000, 10, 20, or even 30K, depending on various scenarios. So you could save up to about $130,000 if you make that or less on your taxes as an American. Yes, you may still have to pay the taxes of the country you move to, but if you're smart like me, you'll move to a country like Dubai, which is where I live, that has zero income tax, or a country that has territorial tax like the Philippines or Paraguay that doesn't tax you on income coming from outside the country. Either way, you pay literally zero tax legally. Now, there are two possible ways to qualify for the FEIE, and most people seem to only be aware of one of them. There are actually two. The first way is very simple. All you do is you leave the United States and you don't go back. And if you go back for a maximum of 30 days in any given calendar year, 30 days or less in any given calendar year, that's from January 1st to December 31st in a given year, then you qualify for the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. And that means the first $112,000, or maybe a little more than that, is tax-free to you as an American. You still have to file your taxes with the IRS, of course. You still have to send in those forms and figure all that out with your accountant or your bookkeeper, what have you. You still have to do that, but you don't have to actually pay taxes. It's kind of nice. Now, you may say, but Caleb, I want to spend more time than just a month a year in the United States. I have family, I have friends, I have business, I have whatever. Great. There is a second way you could qualify for the Foreign Earned Income Exclusion. And this is what I do. And that is what they call the bona fide residence test. This means you are a bona fide, which is different than standard, resident of another country. This means several things. Number one, it means you have legal residency in another country where you live. You have to show the IRS proof that you are a legal resident of that country. If you're not a legal resident, this doesn't work. Number two, you have to have a year-round lease or mortgage in your name in that country, proving that you live there. Number three, you have to spend most of the year in that country. That means more than 183 days a year. Number four, you have to have bank accounts and other assets and other activity, economic activity in that country, again, proving that you really do live there and it really is your home base. There are several other pieces to this. It gets a little complicated, so I'm just summarizing it. But if you pass all these tests, then you can spend up to 120 days per year in the United States. Now, this is the trick with this. That doesn't mean you can spend 120 days literally every year. If you spend 120 days every year back in the United States, you will probably get audited and you'll probably be in big trouble. You want to spend under 120 days a year, and you want to make sure that number is different every time. So maybe one year you spend 111 days. The next year you spend 87 days. The next year you spend 50 days. The next year you spend 100 days. There's all kinds of variance in the amount of time you spend in the United States. If it's the same amount every time and it's really close to 120, you're risking an audit. You probably don't want to do that. But this allows you to spend more than a month a year back in the United States as long as you qualify for all of these factors. Matter of fact, if you want help trying to figure out a country to move to, and you want instructions on exactly how to move from the collapsing USA or any other Western nation to a much better or less bad country, you should go to escapeplancourse.com. That is my course, Escape Plan, that shows you step by step how to determine a country for you and how to move to that country. It's awesome. You really need to check it out. Now, this brings up a question for those of you like me who make a lot more than $112,000 or $130,000 a year. You may be asking, are there ways to reduce my taxes above and beyond that number? Yes, there are many ways. They are very complicated and they are far outside of the scope of this video. For that kind of information, I'm sorry, you're probably going to have to join one of my coaching programs because that gets a little detailed. It gets complicated. The good news is if you're making a lot of money, you can afford to do these things, so it's not a big deal. Technically, I do pay some taxes on the amount of money I make above and beyond $112,000 a year, but I don't pay very much because I use 100% legal structures to minimize, not go to zero, but to minimize my tax burden. So it's not like you pay zero taxes from 0 to 112,000 and beyond that you're totally screwed and now you got to pay, Joe Biden's 46% income tax. That's not how this works. You will still pay less taxes. And it depends on how complicated you want to be, how far into the Five Flags lifestyle you tend to lean into. I'm a total Five Flags guy myself, so I save a lot of money on taxes, but I'm a maniac with this stuff. It's really up to you, depending on how much time and effort you want to spend this part of your life. Now, of course, there is one way to completely eliminate all American taxes and never have to pay any taxes ever again, and that is by renouncing your American citizenship. Obviously, you can do that. The problem with that is there are several problems. Number one is you need another passport or two before you do that because you can't just renounce your American citizenship, have them take your passport away, and now you have no passport, which means you effectively can't travel without breaking a lot of laws. You don't want to do that. Instead, you need to get a passport first, at least one. I'm getting two. And once I have two passports in my hand of two other countries, I'm working on several right now, then yes, I will probably renounce my American citizenship. And yes, for you nitpickers, there is an exit tax. There are a lot of legal ways around that, ways to minimize it. It's not that big of a deal, but that does allow you, once you pay the exit tax, if you need to, and you have to have millions of dollars to qualify for that, once that process is done, then yes, you're done paying taxes to the United States for the rest of your life. Does that mean I can never go back to the United States, Caleb? No, you can still go back to the United States as a tourist, just like other foreigners can visit the United States as a tourist. So again, if that's a factor for you and you want to go back to the United States a lot after renouncing your citizenship, you better make sure that one of those passports that you have is something that is visa friendly for the United States so it's easy to visit there. In my case, I plan on doing that, as well as the fact that I am married to an American, my wife, Pink Firefly, who is not renouncing her citizenship. She will be American for the rest of her life, and that can only help me as an ex-American non-citizen when I go back to visit that country. To be clear, I have not renounced my American passport. I still am a legal American. I still have an American passport. That is down the road for me because, again, I want to do this correctly. I want to make sure I have not one but two good passports for reals in my hand before I make any of those moves, which I plan on doing in the next few years. So if you want to save money on taxes as an American, you can save a hell of a lot of money. It's not that complicated or difficult. Just make plans to move out of the country. If you want a good example of a country that's a pretty good country to move to out of many options, you can watch this video right here on why I chose Dubai, specifically United Arab Emirates, as the country that I moved to. I'll see you in that video. Bye.